Good to see you once again, Mark. Now, for those people who don't know you, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Abby. It's really great being here. My name is Mark Csabai. I'm from South Africa, and I am a mindset coach. Some people say I'm a transformational coach. And yeah, so I have some clients in South Africa and around the world that I actually work with. So that's what I do. I like helping people get clarity on the way forward in their lives and to achieve their goals. So I'm basically a life coach.
That's great. Thanks. So now in this conversation, I'd like to ask you some questions. Now, probably not the type of questions that people normally ask, but as an NLP, I'm really fascinated with how people think and the actual thoughts that drive the decision-making process and why they do what they do. So if it's okay with you, then I would like to elicit your life values. And the process is very simple. All I do is ask the question, what is important to your life and what else is important to your life? And once we get a list of values, then we can sort them into a hierarchy. And then we work through the list of values, mapping out the meaning by asking questions like, why is that value important to you? And once you get that value fulfilled, then what do you get to have and to experience? And what does that value mean to you? Okay, so Mark, what's important to you in life?
Well, what's important to me in life? Well, health and happiness is very important to me.
All right, let me just put this down here. Health, happiness, yep.
I think certainty is very important.
Certainty.
Getting a sense of certainty.
Yep.
A feeling of fulfilment.
Fulfillment.
Yeah. Self-growth and development is very important to me.
Self-growth and development.
And development, yeah, or self-growth and development, yeah. I suppose just, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I see.
A fulfilling relationship with my wife. Very important.
Relationship. Yep.
I suppose that would also go into love and connection.
Love and connection. Yep.
Money, being financially stable.
Money. Financial stability. Yes.
A sense of freedom and authenticity.
Freedom. Freedom and authenticity. Yes.
Contribution.
Contribution.
Variety.
Variety.
Yeah, I'm very variety.
Yep.
Very curious. Honesty, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, okay, honesty.
Respectful, yeah.
Is that honesty, is that respectful is another one, or does it go with the honesty?
Yep. No, it would be separate.
Respectful. And what's really important, as you know, when you're actually writing it down, you've got to write it down the way the person says it. So you said respectful. If I wrote respect, it's slightly different.
Yeah, I would say respectful, yeah, being respectful to other people. Being, having respect for other people. I think that's a better way to put it. Having respect for other people.
Yep.
Respect for others. Perfect.
Yes.
Peace.
My God. Okay. And I have a challenge.
Peace.
Here. I wondered if this would happen. Aha. Yes.
Perfect.
God. This makes it a bit of a challenge. All right. Hang on, I know what to do. Sorry.
Self-discipline.
Self-discipline. All right, so what I'm going to do...
Can't really think of any more.
Oh, that's good.
Integrity.
All right. Integrity.
Integrity. And I think I would add to that list contentment.
I was just going
to be content.
Yeah, because I was just going to ask, what are the emotional states that are important for you to experience on a consistent basis? And sort of
contentment.
Yeah. Okay. So we get this list of values here, and we can just scan down: health, happiness, certainty, fulfillment, self-growth and development, fulfilling relationship, love and connection, money, financial stability, freedom and authenticity, contribution, variety, honesty, respect for others, peace, self-discipline, integrity, and contentment. If in any one day you could only have one of those, which would it be?
Fulfillment, a sense of fulfillment. A sense of fulfillment, yeah.
Fulfillment. So what I do is I'm going to cut that out, put it up there. Okay, if you could have fulfillment and one more, which would it be?
A sense of fulfillment and contentment.
There we go. And if you could have fulfillment and contentment and one more, which would it be?
Can I move something?
Yeah.
That I feel, that I definitely feel is higher up the hierarchy, and that would be contribution. I would definitely put contribution under fulfilling relationship.
So if you could have variety but not contribution, would that be okay?
If I could have variety and contribution,
but not contribution, would that be okay?
No, contribution would definitely have to be first.
Oh, okay. So if you could have contribution but not honesty, would that be okay?
No, that wouldn't be okay.
All right, there we go. So that's how you sort of test, all right?
Yeah. I like the way you did that. That's very good. Yeah, contribution is, and then variety, honesty. Okay. Integrity, peace, and happiness.
So what we're doing, we sort of get you get a list of values today, and then we rank them in order of importance, and then we can do a check just to make sure, where they actually position themselves. So sometimes you might think one is high, but in actual fact, no, it's not. And then you get a list, all right? And so now what we do, which is the bit of a challenge on the video here, is we're going to...
Do these... Sorry. Can values change?
Yeah. Well, as you probably know, the most values values are formed probably from around the time you're born, and then the most important life values are sort of formed around 10 years of age. So what was happening in the world or your family when you were 10 years of old will form these really, really important values. My mum was 15 when her home got bombed in London, and she had a big value on peace. It was peace, just peace at home, but just peace,
Sure.
She didn't want war or anything. Yeah, and so then you get different values formed in the teenage years, different values formed from 21 to 28, and because you'll often find that young people are actually more like on the left when they're teenagers or in their 20s, but then can change. They become more conservative as they get older. So values shift like that. And then if some big things happen in your life, like some massive things happen in your life, I don't know, war or famine or something like this, and then, or you go broke or whatever, then your value system gets challenged, and then they can re-establish themselves. But they are actually pretty set. And then if you look at it, and if the values hierarchy doesn't really work for you, because it has to be congruent, each one has to support the next one, the next one, the next one, all the way up. So it looks funny with the happiness at the bottom and the peace. But what you're looking at is those lower values, then actually once you get that fulfilled, then it allows you to move up to the next, to the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. And then when you actually say take fulfillment and you actually really explore that, you might find more deeper core values, all right?
Yes.
And then if you want to change them, put another value in there, like say health, or health in the middle there. If you want to shift up health, you can do it with NLP by changing submodalities. So you elicit the visual submodalities for that, and then you can just change the position and move it up into position. So then you have health at the top all the way down. But it's not that simple, because what will happen over a period of time, it'll probably fall back to where it originally was. So if you shift the value, you can't just say, I want that to be more important. You change the submodalities, you move it up, but then you have to map out all the meaning and all the reasons why and the modal operators, etc., that will hold it in place so it stays there. All right? So does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yes, it does. It is interesting that peace and happiness is right at the end. However, yeah, as you were saying, I think fulfillment in my life encompasses peace and happiness, because if I feel fulfilled, I feel at peace, I'm content, and I'm happy to, go on and achieve other things in my life. But if I don't have that fulfillment, if I'm doing something and I don't feel fulfilled in doing it, then I don't really want to do it. If I think about peace, in being at peace with something that I do, it's not as powerful as it is in fulfillment for me. I need to know that, I feel like I'm contributing and I'm feeling fulfilled and it's meaningful. And from that comes this peace and this happiness and joy of the fact that I've done something that is worthwhile, if that makes any sense.
That makes...
So I think that's why I chose fulfillment as number one.
Yep. So now what we do is we start mapping out the meaning, which we've just started to do, right? So we got a lot of values. We can't go through all the values. So what I do, I look through. Oh, I could go. I was looking at honesty, but no, that's not a problem. Let's have a look. Let's start at the top. Okay. Let's start with fulfillment, right, which we're just doing. So we start with fulfillment, and why, we ask the question like, why? So why is fulfillment important to you?
Fulfillment is important to me because it brings a stability within my life. I feel like I am contributing something worthwhile to my family, to the community. I feel as though I'm doing something that is purposeful. It adds meaning to my life. And in that meaning, I have a sense of stability. I feel that, you use the word congruent, I feel congruent within myself in the sense that I'm doing something that I have been purposed to do or created to do.
Okay, so
Uh,
yeah.
mm. And then I feel happy and content, and I can sleep well.
Okay, so then I was going to ask you, so once you have that congruency within yourself, what do you then get to happen to experience?
Oh, well, if I am congruent within myself, I'm less judgmental and critical of the things that I do, and I'm able to tap into my creative self. I believe that I can operate at a greater potential. I feel worthwhile, or should I say, the things that I do are worthwhile in my life, if that makes any sense.
So what does doing worthwhile things mean to you?
Doing worthwhile things means that I am adding value to not only my life, but to other people's lives, to my community, to the people that I see around me. And that's what it means to me.
And is adding value important to you?
Very much so. Value is very important to me.
Okay, that's good. Thanks. So what we did there, like quite briefly, you're using your intuition, and then we were asking the question like, why is it important to you, you know? And then we sort of choose one, and then it's like, okay, so once you get that, then what do you get to happen to experience? And you can keep following those chains. And as you're following those chains, you're actually reaching to the deeper core values. And then which we didn't do, we were starting that. And then there was one there, I go, okay, worthwhile. So then I asked, well, is that important to you? Oh, adding value, is that important to you? And you go, yeah. And so what it does, it reinforces to the person, it's like a feedback, it ratifies to the person.
Yes.
So they're getting acknowledgement. So for the people watching, it's like, it's not just enough to say, oh, these are my values. Like a company says, these are the company values. It's like, yeah, give us a break, all right? This is where we want some congruency. We want to see the company walking the talk. And so you sit down with your partner or your friends or whatever, and then you run through, and it's not a tedious process, but it's a methodical process. You've got to list the values, because sometimes people will say in relationship, oh, I know what his values are, I know what her values are, I know what's important to this person. But yeah, you're still doing it in, not so much, well, you're still doing it intuitively because it's still in your head. And when you take it out of the head and you put it down onto paper, you get a list. And then the person, like in this case it's you, Mark, you can see that list of values, all right? And then it gets you to think about it. And then you are able to then now focus in on each of those, and we can explore each one of those if we have the time. So people in a relationship could do the same thing, and it's a lot of fun. You know, you're mapping out each one. And then you get the value, but you can't just assume that other people know what fulfillment means, because it's a mind read. It's a meta model mind read. That's what we use the NLP meta model to challenge your own assumptions. So you can't just go and say, oh, I know what that is. I know what self-discipline is. I know what respect for others is. No, you don't. You know what it is for yourself, perhaps, but not for other people, see? So that's why we go this, and we're mapping it out, and that's where you've got to be really curious. And it is easier like face to face. It's a bit harder when we do it on camera because I've got I've got two things to track. So, okay. And then we go, okay, let's have a look at the, now let's choose another one. So, contentment's really funny. Okay, let's have a look at contentment, all right? So, why is contentment important to you?
Contentment's important for me because it brings about a sense of peace and freedom in respects of doing what I really enjoy doing. For example, maybe my hobbies such as painting or playing guitar. When I'm content, I feel that I am on a road that leads to greater things. I feel more successful. And I'm a nice guy when I'm content. I'm nice to be around when I'm content.
So, okay. So then you get when you get to feel content, then that puts you onto the road to success. So what do you mean by success? What does that look like, sound like?
Success for me is being authentic within myself, being someone that is living a life that is congruent to his values, beliefs, and being able to speak to other people in a way that is respectful, awarding them the honesty and authenticity of Mark, and in so doing, impacting their lives for the better. When a person's eyes lights up, if I speak to them about a particular subject and they have an aha moment, that for me is very rewarding. I feel that I have succeeded in transferring joy and contentment and fulfillment to another person. So I want to be an impactful or an influencer. Yeah, I want to be someone of influence. I want to be able to influence people. So success for me is basically influencing other people for the better, in a nutshell.
So being someone of influence for the better. So just looking at the value of contentment, I don't think anybody would have actually known that's what it actually means to you. You know? Because if you say, look, it's really important for me my second most important value is to feel content. And a lot of people say, yeah, that's all I want to, at the end of the day, I just want to feel content. They had a really good day or whatever, just sit back and have a beer or whatever, just feel that everything's all right. But it's different for different people. The same word, but it means something different for different people.
Yes.
And that's where we get with all this new progressive politics and ideologies and things where they're using these words, and the words mean very different things to different people, and there's just too many assumptions that people and mind reads that people are using, too many presuppositions in there, and even though people are having lots and lots of conversations, they're not really sitting down mapping out the values and the meaning in the way that we're doing it here. And this is what I think is really useful. So that was contentment. Oh, okay. Bringing a sense of peace, freedom in respect of doing what you really enjoy, like painting a guitar. When you feel content, so I guess when you feel content, then you feel like you're on the road to success, and you get into flow, you become a nice guy. Yes. And success means being... Well, see, when your values are being fulfilled, then we get to feel good, and in a sense, be not necessarily the best version of ourselves, but we put on a really good face for other people. We're good to be around. And when people are sort of upset and irritable and angry, well, what does it mean? It probably means their values, some of their values are not being fulfilled, but not being met. And so it says something. And so, well, what are the values that are being violated or not being fulfilled? What's that struggle the person's going through? And you meet them there. And so success means like being authentic within yourself, whereas success for another person could be $1 million or something, you know? But for you, it's like success is being authentic. And that sort of goes back to like your ENFP personality type, where authenticity is really important. And then it's like you get to live, when you're authentic within yourself, you get to live a life that's congruent with your values and your beliefs, and then you can speak to others with respect. And then when you work with others and you're able to influence others and they light up and they have those aha moments, then it feeds back and you get to feel fulfilled. Oh, okay, which is your highest value.
Amazing.
Interesting.
That is very, very much. And yeah, we're very complex as human beings, aren't we? I think many of these values, as you say, we don't, I'm not consciously aware of them, but they are there. They're driving me in life. They're driving me to do the things that I do, or, the things that I'm supposed to be doing, I'm not doing, and I'm not really sure why. But now looking at the list that we have here in front of me, I realize why I feel many times the way I feel. And I feel incongruent sometimes when things are not going the way, I would like them to go. I don't feel fulfilled at all. And I become very sort of unhappy with my present path. Very interesting.
Yes, and I think a lot of people lack that congruency because what they really want to do is this, but then society says, no, you've got to do that. And you get people we all sort of get conditioned as children by society. It's like, oh yeah, what you got to do is get the house and the swimming pool and the car and all that sort of stuff, and then you'll be really happy. And then the person puts all that work and energy into doing that, and they're about 35, 40 years of age, and they're out there on the back veranda looking at the swimming pool, and they're not happy at all.
Right.
And then you see that a lot with the progressive politics, where now you get a lot of the young women. I'm trying not to be political, but yet the young women, and they're promised, no, you too can be a CEO of a major company. You too can have that, You can you too can have what men have, and there's that desire to have that. And so then you get these really attractive women, and they get to be a lawyer, and they're a really good lawyer, and they're 30 years of age, and then it hits them that they've left it too late. Like I know this out there all the time, but I've had a client like that, it's like she's 28 actually, and it hit her. It's like she left it too late. She's only 28, but she knows that she's got to find a guy, but now she's got herself up the hierarchy, the dominance hierarchy. Women have to women can't marry down. So she can't just go and find a tradie. No, she has to find somebody who's actually more successful than she is. So by getting herself up the hierarchy, she's made it harder to find a mate. And now she's only got a few people to select from. And there's not a lot of time and to form the relationship, because the big thing, she wants to get married and have a family. But then she hasn't done it. She's got this great job as a lawyer in this law firm, and they want to put her higher and pay her more money, and there's there's that conflict that the person experiences.
Wow.
Whereas if we taught people how to elicit their value system and find what's really, really important to them, then perhaps the young woman would go ahead and be a lawyer. But probably she would do it differently. And I've worked with people who they know that family was important to them. They still wanted to be in business. So then what they did, they found a business they could operate from home. And one woman, what she did, she set up a really successful multi-level marketing, network marketing business. And she was able to be at home with her kids all the time and have a really fulfilling family relationship and have business success. It wasn't either or, right? It's not like have a career or a family. It's like she got a business and a family. And so she's really feels fulfilled.
So how do values play a role in purpose, or are they the same thing?
How do values play a role in purpose?
My purpose in life.
Or purpose.
Or do I first have to identify my purpose? Or do I identify my purpose based on my values?
Okay, so what you do is this. So you get your value system like we have here. That's what most people do. But then you sit down and you're asking the question, then you start thinking more about purpose. And it's just like, so you're going a bit deeper and it's like, you're going a bit deeper. And then it's just like, you're thinking maybe more, what's been those drivers throughout your life?
Okay.
What have been?
Okay.
Okay.
So, sorry to interrupt you. So the values are actually driving my purpose. They help me achieve my purpose. They are the house.
Well, yeah, okay, but no, there's something else. It's like what I was saying. What's really important to you? And it's like, okay, so for me, truth is really important to me. Like I'm a long-term meditator, and meditation basically is a preparation for death. So meditation is not about relaxing, even though that could be an effect of meditating. It's preparation. Meditation is preparation for death, all right? And a lot of spirituality, a lot of sort of like Eastern religion is preparation for death. It's an exploration into death. And so then there's like, one has to make an inquiry into existence. One makes an inquiry into death. And this is me talking, all right? And so then there has to be this openness. You're hearing these things, openness and curiosity and fascination. And so as a true, or for me to be a true, authentic seeker of truth with a capital T, all right, with a capital T, I have to be willing to challenge all of my assumptions, all of my beliefs, everything that I've actually learned. Because everything that I've learned and read and been taught may be wrong. All right? Right. So you see where I'm going with this? It's just like...
Yes, I do.
So then what I did with over the years with religion, I'll explore this and I'll learn this. And then my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, they were Seventh-day Adventists and whatever. And so about 15, 20 years ago, and I want to get rapport with people. So I watched all of their 34 of their videos and whatever. And I'm going into this with a sense of curiosity and openness. And then from that, I go, okay. Then I go, okay, I'll follow through. And then I go back to I think it's the Kabbalah, with the Jewish Kabbalah. And then you get the image of the guy sitting in meditation with the 7 subtle bodies. And I go, that's really interesting. That's like what they have like in India, and I'm following it all the way through. And then I follow all the way through with the death experience. So the descriptions of death, they have like all the way through Asia and then European countries and all whatever. And there's different experiences depending on their religion and their culture and ethnicity and this and that. And it's just like, that's really fascinating. And so in that, there's the sort of at the core of that, because you're asking about purpose. So
Purpose, yeah.
The core. So what's really important to me is to be a sovereign individual. And that means I would rather suffer with a headache than take drugs to get rid of the headache. So I don't want to take any drugs or things which would affect my cognitive abilities.
Functions, right? Yeah. Right.
Even though if I may have to suffer, it doesn't matter, because what's really important for me is to be there at the process of death. All right. And I don't want any interference from anybody else at all. All right. So, and with the religion and spirituality, what's really important for me is the actual truth. It's like, so I don't align myself with any particular religion or dogma or doctrine. I will examine them, which I have done in great detail over the years, and get right totally into it and look at it and explore it and do all the different practices and things. But I'm moving in there as a dispassionate observer, as like an explorer. And so in that, there's like a core essence that I have of being absolutely true to myself, true to myself. And then when I find these truths, or when I find, say, facts about history, I really want to share that with other people. But you can't always share that with other people because they get triggered or react. So then it's like, well, how do I actually then teach people or motivate people to run a process of inquiry for themselves? So I'm teaching process, not content. So I want to encourage people to run these processes of inquiries for themselves, so they can actually explore whatever they want to explore. They do it their own way, but they're actually following a process. They're not being delivered content, and they're not just believing the content. And sort of, hopefully that sort of gives you an idea of what's really important to me. So where I could just be actually doing something and just making money, it's like, no, I have to be finding some surreptitious way to actually wake people up, to get them to really explore their presuppositions and their assumptions, you know? So, okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's very in-depth and very amazing. So curiosity is very important. But remember, we're coming back to that purpose now. So the purpose for you in your life would be what? What would your purpose be? To be, as you say, an observer in life, learning as much as you can, being open-minded. Would it be challenging everything that you hold as true to make sure that you are holding up truth, and then share that with other people? What is your purpose? Well,
the purpose is what I just tried to describe there.
It's very deep, though, isn't it? I mean,
well, yeah,
it's very.
It's like it's like for me, and I got to learn from everything that I actually do. So I'm constantly reflecting on things, learning from my past, and what I could have done better, learning from mistakes that I made. For example, when I was 15, so I was brought up in Perth, WA. There was a weekend newspaper, the Sunday Times, and there was an article in there about this guy in India. At that time, it was called Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, right? And there was an article about this guy, and he had like a tiny little commune, and there was all these Germans who were there visiting him, and I didn't know who they were, but they were actually saying, yes, these Germans were there, but the tent, the auditorium they built, kept on falling down. And I read that little article in the Sunday Times, and I said to myself, I want to go there. And I was only 15 years old. And I was a working class kid, and I thought, well, I'm never going to be able to go to India. And I threw the newspaper away, and I regretted it, not keeping that keeping the article. And then, of course, I get to be 17 years of age, and I buy, when I'm 18, I buy a V8 Monaro and whatever, doing burnouts and silly things like that. And it's just like, God, if I'd only just held it onto the article. A couple of years later, I had a job at university. On my annual holidays, I could have gone to India when I was about 18. And it took me until I was 1984, before I went to see Osho in Oregon in America, and then a few years later in India. See, and there's that time difference. It's just like there, I knew what I wanted to do, but I had a belief that it wasn't possible at that time. Like, say it's limiting belief or whatever it is.
Sure.
If I'd actually gone, no, this is what I want to do. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but let's see what happens. And that way of thinking is much more functional than what I just said, oh, no, I can't do it.
Right.
So that's what I do
I
constantly,
hear what you're saying.
Learning from the past like that. So, because if I'd done that, it would have compressed, it would have saved so much time in my personal development.
Yeah, I hear you.
I need to.
Yeah, I don't think you're very, you're very deep in I suppose you could call it philosophical understandings. If you had to ask me, I mean, I'm such a simple person. If you had to ask me what my purpose was, my purpose would be to contribute to my community in a way that would be, resourceful to the community so that they can grow and they can develop into honest, upright citizens and so forth and so forth. But that's very deep. And sorry, I just want to come back to something that you mentioned. You mentioned quite a few times about being open-minded and being curious. I suppose that's very important in finding your purpose, isn't it?
Openness and curiosity.
Openness and curiosity.
Yeah, because if you want to find,
because you seem, yeah.
If you want to sort of find your purpose in life, it's sort of it. So I don't know. It's just different for different people. But
sure,
finding your purpose in life, well, it's different for different people. But you have to. But I would suggest that what you do, and so if you look at your life, and you go, well, what are the core themes that run through? That's what I've been trying to describe. But like with my life, there's these core themes that run through, and what would they be?
But they change, don't they? I mean, if I think back to when I was younger, the core things that were running through my life have changed now that I've reached a specific age.
No,
it's like, it's like things that interested me when I was...
Not core things, core themes.
Okay. Oh, core themes. Okay, core themes. Okay, I'm so sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I think that if I have to go back and look at my life as a young man coming through to where I am today, the core theme has always been, I suppose, teaching in a way. I like teaching. I like gathering information. I'm also very curious. My curiosity sometimes gets the better of me in the sense that it takes me away from the goals that I've set for myself because I get caught up with all the shiny objects in life, if that makes any sense. And then I forfeit my goals. I forfeit my path. I end up going onto another path.
Yeah, and so when you go, so when you go back onto the old path,
theme. Yeah.
What was the old path?
The old path was learning, growing, and teaching. That was my core path.
Learning, growing, and teaching.
And teaching.
All right? Learning. So we get three values, like learning, growing, and teaching. And they're different to when we elicited like the life values.
Right.
They haven't actually come up yet.
Right.
See? And so it's like, so there's learning, growing, and teaching. And so you're aware that, so in a way, if you don't get distracted off the path, you may not actually be aware of what the path was. All right.
Right.
And so
Yes.
I think it was the same with me too. It's not until you get off the path you realize, no, that's where I should be. That's where I should be.
Right.
I've got to get back onto that. And then you examine that. And so then you have a look at the learning, growing, and teaching in greater detail. And so what's important to you about learning, growing, and teaching?
Well, it comes back to my value, and that is that I have a sense of fulfillment, which ties in with my contribution.
Yeah, so it brings a sense of fulfillment, right?
Mm.
Brings a sense of fulfillment. And so, so then at sort of like at the end of your life, you know, what's going to be that sense of fulfillment at the end of the day, end of your life? What's going to be that sense of fulfillment, which is going to give you that meaning, which will provide the meaning, which will say, I did the best that I possibly could. I'm really proud of myself.
Contributing to people around me. That's very, very important for me, actually.
And then, so you're contributing, and so then what does that contribution look like?
What does it look like? What does it look like? I suppose I know what it feels like. I haven't really thought about what it looks like. I have actually no idea what it would look like in the sense of my home, my life.
So what do you mean by home and life?
The way I live, where I live, the geographical area in which I live, living a life maybe by the ocean, good strong marriage, good social life, a nice strong social life, close friends, maybe 2 or 3 really close friends, confidantes in my life.
So it's like, say, living by the ocean, you've got a strong marriage, strong social life, got close friends. And that's meaningful for you.
Very. Yes. That's what it looks like, I think. That when I finally die, that I know that I have contributed to the world in a positive, empowering, and resourceful way.
All right, contributed to the world in an empowering and resourceful way. Okay, so if we go back, so living by the ocean. So do you live by the ocean?
No.
So would it? So if you were to be able to live by the ocean, would it provide more meaning?
It would provide more meaning in the sense that I have accomplished something that is very dear to my heart, very near to my heart. And that is, once again, coming back to contribution, which would then I suppose, feed into fulfillment. I would feel fulfilled. I would feel as though I have accomplished something in my life. That's one of the areas, living by the ocean.
So do you have a goal to live by the ocean, or is it like just a dream?
I have never really set a goal to live anywhere. I must be honest with you. So my goals have not included any place of living. Not at all.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. And then do you have a strong marriage?
yes, I do actually.
Right, you get a tick for that, right? Strong marriage.
Yes.
And then do you have a strong social life?
No.
All right. So then there's two areas, like perhaps like living by the ocean and improving your social
And
life.
social life.
Do you have you got some close friends?
Yes.
Right, tick there. So then if you were to so do you think it's possible to be able to live by the ocean?
Yes, I do.
And do you think it's possible to build a strong social life?
Yes.
And is that something that you would like to consider?
Yes, it is, but it's not important. It's not something that I would go out of my way to improve. I must be honest.
Okay, because we go back, this somehow goes back to contribution. And I asked you what would contribution to people
look like? Yeah.
And then I asked what it would look like rather than the feelings. All right. I purposely did that to torture you. So what would it look like? And that's when you came up with the home and the life and the way you live.
Yes.
And then it came up with the geographics by the ocean, strong marriage, strong social life, close friends. All right. And then it's like this, because you get like the value system that we were looking at previously. And let's see if I can move across. We get the value system there. The values, we get a value system, and somehow it's like that's what we get as we're growing up. It develops. But are you your value system, or are you more than your value system?
Sure, that's a good question.
See, it's just like just because you grow up in one culture, you get this value system, and people in a different culture have a different value system. It's like, well, there's your conditioning, but there's an essence. There's an essential energy. There's an essence that you actually have, which, in my mind, way of thinking, is independent of those different cultures and value systems, etc. And then sometimes it's like this. Like for me, I've always been really creative, but like photography and art and all that sort of stuff. But there's been periods in my life when I was 16, I thought, oh, I want to do a painting. And I thought, oh, it'll take me 6 months to do the painting. Oh, so I'm not going to do it. A bit like me not going to India, right? Not keeping that article. It's like, and then but then I still followed through. And then there was periods of time where I actually put a lot of time into painting and all that sort of stuff. And then if I moved, I had to downsize, leave all the art gear behind, and there was a period, not maybe long ago, when I actually got rid of all my art brushes and this and that, because, I'm never going to be doing that again. But I know as soon as I throw something out, it often means because I'm actually considering it. And then like 6 months later or something, I got back to my art, and the last like maybe 4 years now or so, I've been doing spending a lot more time with art. And it's like, sure, maybe I should be making money, working on the business side, taking care of all those retirement issues. But you could do that. But what's really, really important in here is the art.
Yes.
See, and so that's what I
Yes.
think is the same with a lot of people. And it could be, yeah, you go, well, I don't really need to live by the ocean, you know, I don't really need to have a strong social life. It'll be good to do that, but there's more
Yes.
important things to do, you know. I've got these
Yes.
other values to fulfill. But then I
Yes.
suggest, well, maybe not. Maybe it's like, and that's where you get the seekers of truth. The mystics always tend to be, well, I think all the mystics were individuals. So they were sovereign individuals. They didn't go along with what others told them
Yes.
to do.
Yes.
They stepped outside and they followed their own path. And many times they died or got injured through their exploratory experiences and
Yes.
whatever. But it was their life.
Yeah, their social rebellion, their social rebelliousness.
Societal
The,
rebelliousness.
it's societal. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the nonconformists.
Yeah,
You know,
nonconformist. And then they get
um,
worshipped years later.
amazing. Because I am not a conformist. Most definitely not. I've always been sort of the black sheep of the family in a way, and I've always done my own thing. You know, and I've always taken chances. I'm a big risk taker. Um, I'm also a seeker. I sometimes have a problem with my freedom coinciding with my commitments. So I'm afraid to make a commitment because I see it as, you know, maybe my freedom's going to be taken away. And that can be a problem.
So then, are you willing to commit to your freedom?
I'm willing to commit to my freedom, but I'm also willing to commit to commitment at the expense of freedom to a certain extent in order to grow and to become more authentic in myself. That's important for me.
And
But I seem to have this, this unconscious bias towards commitment. You know, if I have to make a commitment, it's like deep down inside of me, it's like, oh, you know, I don't know if I should make that commitment, because if I do, then I'm losing out on my freedom. I like to be spontaneous in my life. I like to do things whenever I like. So, and that costs me, as I've said to you before. This is a big thing for me. I'm really,
so, so can you give yourself the freedom to commit?
yes, I can. I can give myself the freedom to commit. I like that. Yes.
So you give yourself the freedom to commit. That puts freedom at a higher meta level than the commitment.
Right.
But now
Yes.
you're actually the sovereign individual. You've still got your freedom, and you're coming from a space of freedom rather than coming from a
Yes.
space of commitment.
Right. Okay. Amazing. Yes. Giving myself freedom to commit. I like that. Freedom to commit.
Freedom to commit.
Sure.
Okay, so maybe on that point, we need to wind up the session because it's a video. It's going to take a long time to edit. So, what have you learned from our conversation today?
Well, I have learned that my values aren't exactly what I thought they were. I was quite surprised to see that. By the way, that's what I think surprised me a lot, was my financial stability came down in about fifth or sixth. I'm not sure where it was on your list. But that was something that really, yeah, there you go. Where is it? Is it even there?
Third.
Oh, it's third. Okay. Right. I did put it as third then. Okay. Because I did think that was in the beginning when I listed it, it was about fifth or sixth. But yes, I've learned to become, to be more, I think, kinder to myself and not so critical. Because looking at my values, I realize that I do have the abilities and I have the potential to live a life that is fulfilling and congruent with my current values. And yeah, I have you to thank for that in bringing them out, making them available to me. So thank you.
You're welcome. And so what are some tasks that you could give yourself in the coming days?
Right, that's a good question. Some tasks that I can give myself would be to give myself freedom to commit to specific tasks that I have procrastinated on. Also, I think it's important for me to do things that I've been putting off, in the sense of getting back onto the path that I've maybe wandered away from, by setting goals, setting a really good goal now that we're moving into 2023, and set some good goals for fulfilling my core values, in the sense of contribution. I don't think that I'm contributing enough, and I think I should set some goals in that area to contribute more. Maybe join a non-profit organization and offer my services, something like that.
Interesting. Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Yes.